Welcome everyone and welcome to today's very special video for a few reasons. The first, this is my first track guide in over a year. I haven't done a track guide since the F1 car came onto iRacing. So that's definitely over a year since I did one of these. Two, it's a very special track, the Red Bull Ring, a track that I absolutely adore. I have had my best ever races in iRacing at this very circuit, so I'm hoping that we get a repeat of that and the same type of racing in the Super Formula car this week as well. And three, and most importantly guys, we have a special announcement. We have been approached by the guys kindly at Racelogic. You may be familiar with that name. They are the company that provides and tracks the real world data of racing cars. You will recognize them through their little timing box that is on the dash of most GT and prototype cars. You will recognize that in sim as well, and they capture the deltas, your lap times that you've created, and well, they've come over to the sim racing world. They realise how important gathering data is and practicing on the sim is to real world drivers now and to us sim racers, and they have their own software, VBOX software, that we will be using and analysing two very different laps in the fixed setup of the Super Formula car. I have a little go of it already, and even a novice like me has already benefited from this amount of data that is provided. So yes, if you're very new to the telemetry world and you have no idea, we're going to try and help you get through it and give you an example of what to look for, and also if you are an absolute geek in regards to reading telemetry, which I know a few of you are in my community, this may be the very piece of software for you. So yes, we are in the fixed setup. As I mentioned, we're going to run two different laps in the fixed setup. I'm not trying the open setups because there's way too many available now and I don't have the money to purchase them all. So we are in the fixed. You can use this setup, of course, in the open series as well. And well, this car is, as we know already, a handful, and it is most a handful early on in a race and a stint, and that is when it has a full tank of fuel, cold tyres and cold brakes. So after doing a bit of practice here, this car does perform drastically different to when it is obviously a lighter fuel load and has tyres and brakes that are up to temperature. So we've got one lap straight out of the box, which is with obviously cold tyres, full amount of fuel, brakes, and then we are going to do a lap where we're a little bit further into a stint where everything's up to temperature, the car's a little bit lighter, and really where this car comes into its own, and just have a look at the differences there. So yeah, let's get into it guys. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button, turn those notifications on, and firstly we're going to have a look at the lap where everything is just terrible. Let's get into it. So guys, here we are. Let's have a comparison of those 2 laps. The one with a full tank of fuel, cold, everything, and then the other one where we're a bit more into a stint. The faster lap where we have everything up to temperature and a little bit of a lighter car. So it's understandable that, of course, the second lap there was the quicker lap time. But look, you first need to be able to make it to that point of where everything is up to temperature, because if you can't handle this car on the first lap there, then yeah, there's no point practicing with a car that is of a lighter fuel load and has the tyres up to temperature. So if you can handle the car at its worst, you can definitely handle the car at its best. So this is the VBOX Sim software though, guys. As you can see in front of you, there is a lot of information here, but I have displayed this as to the information that I personally would like to see. So just to give you guys a bit of an example of what we have here, or a brief overlook, we have our laps that the data has recorded via OBS. I will create a separate video in exactly how this sim software works. That is a video for another time, but once you've uploaded the software itself, you will see that it has tracked every single lap. And at the moment, I have selected, of course, that second lap because the first one was our out lap, and then we have our fastest lap there. You can see, as we mentioned, this car gets progressively quicker throughout a stint as the fuel burns off and the tyres come up to temperature. But what I am actually able to do, if I wanted to, I could compare up to 6 different laps if I truly wanted to. I don't know why you would specifically want to do that too much. You could, of course, I think it's more pertinent for the telemetry side rather than the actual images. But having these direct comparisons of all of these is really, really handy, and I can see that a number of you will benefit. I've got a few names in mind already who I think would benefit from this software, and maybe asking me a few more questions after this video has finished. So what I have displayed at the top here, so if you go to home, there are a number of default views already available for you. I have this set at the moment to view all. I think this is the best. To be honest, I've got everything that I need here, but of course there's different ones here where you can just have the video displayed, or you can have just the track displayed, but we're going to have everything in view here. So on the left hand side, we have a key which of course has a whole host of different pieces of data that you can select that will bring up onto the graph sector here. I only care, as I said, I'm a very big novice in regards to reading telemetry. I know the basics, so I just want my brake, my throttle, and my speed. That's all I want, guys. So on this telemetry here, that you'll be able to see, what we are keeping an eye out for is the red line and the blue line. So the red line is our slower lap. Well, actually, no, sorry, it is our faster lap as indicated up here on the key. We then have our blue line, which is our slower lap, which is lap number 2. So very easy to navigate. You can alter those if you see wish. And then on the right hand side, which I think is really, really handy as well, is a outline of the track. So you'll be able to see here that there's different sector points that you can set. You set where obviously you want the lap to start, and then it is able to overlay here different lines throughout the lap. So you can see throughout different laps how your lines were different. So if you are specifically trying to try a different entry onto a corner or a different exit, you can see where exactly that line you took stands compared to others. That's a really nice feature there that I think will benefit a number of you. Right guys, let's give this a go. So we have our telemetry down below. I've simplified this. I thought, actually, second thought, the track map, a little bit unnecessary because we pretty much take the same lines here, and the only difference is the gearing and the brake application and throttle application, because of course this car is at 2 different stages in a stint, right at the beginning and 6 laps into it when everything's at peak performance. So let's have a go. So you keep an eye out on the blue side and the blue line. That is your slower lap earlier on in the stint. And then we have our quicker lap time, which is in red. So let's give this a go. So let's run down to the first corner. And this is a tricky one, guys, the first corner. If you've never raced a Red Bull Ring before, be careful. Do not carry too much speed through here. You're better off going through this corner a bit slower and a bit more cautious than you are carrying too much speed. Be careful at the start of the race being too tight on the inside because, well, there's a big old sausage curb on the inside that can really throw an open wheel car off the road. So we are at the 100 ball marker, and that is what you're keeping an eye out for. That is going to be your braking zone. Now, be wary, guys. I do have my brake bias set to 56.4. I like to bring this back a touch. That is the only thing that you can change in a fixed setup. I prefer a bit of rear bias on this circuit compared to others. Just seems to help me out. So if you find out you're locking the fronts a bit too much, give that a go. But yes, in both instances here, at both stages of the stint in both laps, we're keeping an eye on the 100 ball marker. And you can see here we have our brake applied. Now, what you'll see on the telemetry though is that, of course, because I've got a heavier car and I've got colder brakes, I have to apply more brake than I do on the faster lap on the right hand side. It's just natural, really. It's just natural. The difference here is that while me coming off the brake is a little bit more smoother, I hold onto the brake just a touch longer here than probably I should. Now, the reason for that is because, of course, we have a lack of front grip because of cold tyres. So on the left hand side, what you'll notice throughout this lap, guys, is that I am an extra gear lower to help the front end turn in through pretty much every corner, barring the last couple. Then I am on the right hand side, where of course I have nice up to temperature brakes, nice hot tyres. So yes, that is what you'll see noticeably different in these two laps. But as we come through to the first corner, you'll see that, of course, we are shifting through the gears, a little bit of sinking issue there. And yes, you can see that poxy, and I'm going to call it poxy, sausage curb on the inside there. It's there for a reason, but we want to be tight to this as possible without going over it, because you can just launch yourself over this and cause yourself damage. Now, that's not the be-all and end-all, though, because there is also another poxy sausage curb, a longer one that runs on the outside. We want to make sure that we do not get on this sausage curb because it is treacherous, it is slippery. If you get your foot down while you're on this sausage curb in any point during the race, you're going to spin the car and end up in the barrier. Trust me, speaking from experience in multiple series and multiple cars at this corner. So yes, that's why it's a bit more important to get through here safely than it is just too quickly, because you're just going to cause yourself issues and potentially damage as well, because these sausage curbs both throw the car up and down, and floor damage is a thing in iRacing. So as you can see here, the lines are basically the same. We're tight to the sausage curb on exit but not on it, and importantly you can see we've carried more speed on the right hand side. That is because we're in fourth gear, we've got more grip. I can get down on throttle a touch earlier. As you can see from the trace, if we move this forward, you can see the red line is slightly ahead and steeper than the blue line, which indicates I've been able to get on throttle and commit to the power a lot sooner than I have done on the left hand side. Understandable though, as we've already pointed out. And then it's full throttle, guys, all the way down to turn 3. Yes, turn 3, because technically this is a corner, don't ask me why. And once again, keeping an eye out on the 100 ball marker. This is our braking marker for both instances here in these laps. But once again, the difference is that I apply more brake earlier on in the stints with a heavier car and colder brakes than I do on the right hand side. Now, you could be asking me, well, Scott, why am I not braking later if the car is lighter and I have better brakes that are up to temperature? Well, the reason why is because if I brake too much later into this corner in particular, and a lot of the corners at Red Bull Ring, you're prone to locking. You're better off carrying more speed through the corner than you are initially braking later and having a sharper turning point And yes, it's very easy to stamp the foot on the throttle and spin the rears up here, as you will see. So once again, down into first gear on the left-hand side, compared to second on the right. And keep an eye out on that speedometer, guys, of how quickly we go through this corner, how much extra speed we carry through here. As we pause it on the exit here, and you can see on the exit, of course, I am slightly ahead on the right-hand side because it is a faster lap time. But look, I am 86 kilometers an hour compared to 76 on the left-hand side. But most importantly, what I want to bring your attention to is at this exact point, and it's probably more evident on the video itself, I am applying the same amount of throttle on the right-hand side as I am on the left. So that means I've carried, but I'm further along up the track, and I've carried more speed. It means I've carried more speed, I've got more grip through the corner, and now I'm able to get my foot down on the throttle. But of course, I've tried going through here in second gear earlier on in the race or in the stint, and it's possible, but for me, it was just too... it wasn't consistent enough. It was too inconsistent. I was more prone to lock-in. I was more prone to just missing the apex in general. Shifting down to first was much more consistent, and you only have to do it for a lap or so, 2 laps. The third lap, the car pretty much comes into temperature, comes into that window, and you can start being in a higher extra gear. But of course, we know how treacherous this car and this series can be at the start of a race. And look, you can see that's quite evident on the telemetry here. At this same point, we've got the same throttle application. They're pretty much on top of each other, but then my red line, which is the faster lap, the throttle increases a lot quicker than that on the right hand side. And there's almost I'm not as committed on throttle, quite evidently, in the slower lap than I am on the right hand side, the faster lap. So there we go. You want to be careful there, of course, though, to be wary of not spinning up the rear tyres. Very easy to do. You don't want too much temperature in those tyres, because when it comes to braking and going through the next corner, you could be prone to sliding and locking. So once again, 100 board marker, going to be a common theme here, guys, for most of these corners. Want to keep an eye out for that. And as we get on the right hand side, you can see we are slightly ahead here. We're in the green delta and red on our best lap. And well, I am applying the brake, coming off the throttle and applying the brake. A little bit of an overlap there, which I'm trying to improve on, guys. I'm trying to improve on not having throttle applied while I'm braking, because you just have more control, is my understanding. So yeah, something I need to improve on. But we are braking on the 100. Same on the left-hand side, braking in a straight line pretty much towards the end of this run of red and white curb. And as we get to the end of it, or just before the end, that's when you want to turn in. Now, right-hand side, we are in third gear. Left-hand side, obviously a slower lap time, we're in second, because we're just trying to get that front end turning in a bit more control. Now, what I have found, and you'll notice a discernible difference here on the right to the left, is that I found a bit more time going over the curb, not too much, but just getting the right wheels over the curb than I did going round it. That was just my experience. I don't know if that is going to be the case for everyone, but you can see I've got the right wheels up on the curb, because the same principle applies, is that I'm waiting pretty much for the same point around this curb before I'm getting on full throttle. So my logic here is that I'm covering less ground, and this car is actually not too bad over curbs. You won't be able to do this in the W13, that's for sure. But yes, as you can see, as we've just come off that curb, I'm getting on throttle here in third gear, and second gear, I'm just waiting. Of course, we're a little bit behind because a faster lap. And yes, pretty much same point around the corner, I am getting on throttle. Be careful not to get on throttle too early, guys, because the understeer is quite prominent out of this corner and the next corner, which we will run through in a second. So just be a bit patient on throttle and do some practice here to find out when is the right point to apply that throttle, because if you get it too early, you're going to end up in the gravel, and well, we know how slow that gravel is now, actually doing its job rather than it did previously. And you can see here, look, that the speed difference is amazing. 138 kilometers an hour compared to 126. So play it on, and we come up to what is, in my opinion, the infield here, and the toughest corner in this setup. So normally I would be braking F3, F4, F1. The 50 ball marker is kind of where you've been braking. In this car, now in open setup, it might be different, but in this car in particular, in this fixed setup, you want to be braking before the 50. You can see I'm coming off throttle here, and as we just bring this forward a touch, you can see my brake application is before the 50, and well, of course, on the left-hand side, we're not there just yet. Same principle applies. You can see the braking trace there is that I'm applying more brake because I've got obviously full fuel, a heavier car and colder brakes. But it's important here, guys, to get the front end of the car into the apex. Now, if you brake on the 50, and I'm talking, look, 5 meters here, not even that. If you're braking on the 50, you're going to make that apex, you're going to have to scrub off a lot of speed and hit brake too much. You're going to run out. You're not going to hit the apex at all, and you're going to go a lot slower. So in both instances, you're going to be slower, but you're also more likely to run out of track on the exit and hit the gravel. So it's important here to apply the brake. Just it feels like a little bit of trail braking in essence. You can see the tail off here is a bit. It's trail brake here. It's not an initial dab of the brakes and then straight off as it has been down here on the previous corner. Just to try and control that weight shift and get the front end into the apex. You can see here on the right hand side, the front left is pretty much on that curb. Not on it. You don't want to be on it because it's quite a slippery curb. I'm on kind of the inside of the curb, and the same will be the case on the left hand side, the slower lap. But of course, a little bit more brake applied. I'm shifting down into fourth, which is important here as well. Cannot go through here in fifth. You just, I don't know, it just understeers too much. There's too much weight in the car. There's not enough grip. You have to slow the car down too much to get it through here in fifth. And fourth, just yeah, a bit of engine braking allows you to get the front end turning in. Now, this is a corner where you want to practice, guys. Me personally, there isn't a visual aid here of where I then get my foot down on the throttle. I just go through feel and enough practice, but once I'm far enough around this corner, there's like a feel that I then get on throttle, and I know that I'm not going to run out on the exit. You can see I'm not fully on throttle here, so there's probably a bit of time gain. I don't know if I lost time here. I'm going to assume I probably did lose time because you can see I hold the throttle at the same point, not full throttle, for quite a period of time around that corner. I'd need to see if I can maybe improve that and wait a bit longer to then get more of an initial acceleration, get that throttle more straight up. But it's patience. This corner is very much about patience. Obviously, it's a bit more of a smoother trace there on the slower lap than it was on the faster lap. But you can see, as I do get on throttle, I'm close to the edge here. I don't want all four wheels on the inside of the red and white curb. Track limits are not as penalising here as it is in real life. So you can get all your tyres on the inside of the white line, just not on the inside of the red and white curb. And then we're going to be aiming for the ends of this painted section. So you can see where the white bit comes into a point and the green bit. And on both instances, we are going to be shifting down a gear, dabbing, well, no, apologies, not shifting down a gear. We're going to be just dabbing the brakes, allowing to go through here in fifth gear, making sure we get it tight to the apex, and then once we reach the peak of the apex, we can get on full throttle, use all of the runoff. It's a lovely, lovely little section of the Red Bull Ring, this. And then here, we're going to be keeping an eye out on the 50 ball marker. Both corners here, or the last corner and both these last corners, are taken in exactly the same gear in both instances. The difference is the braking. As you can see here, the traces are a little bit different. The throttle is kind of similar, but the braking is a bit more brake applied with the slower lap. as we've said a number of times already, repeating ourselves for obvious reasons, because it's heavier fuel, a heavier car. Brake on the 50, we're just applying a little bit of brake, same principle as the last two corners. We just want to get the front end, we're just trying to control the front end of the car and get it pointing into the apex. Now I actually make a mistake here, guys. In my opinion, I get two wheels up on the curb in both instances. Now for me, in my experience, that's not the quickest way to go around this corner, because you cannot get on throttle quick enough. Because if you get on throttle going up on these curbs, there's not enough traction and you can lose control of the car. So it's only a split second, but it's a split second of time that I have lost through this corner by going up on the curb. So try not to do that. Get it as tight as possible, but not on the actual curb. And then allow the car to drift out to the left and use all of this runoff. As we said on the previous corners, you're allowed four wheels on the outside of this white line. You're just not allowed all four wheels on the outside of the red and white curb. If I was over a bit further, I would end up with an off track. And then very, very quickly, the last corner and the last braking marker for the last corner is going to come up on you. So just going to bring that back a touch because I went a bit too far. And we can see here that as the red and white paint on the left hand side comes to an end, there's like a concrete patch, and this is where you want to be braking. Now I actually brake, I think, on the right hand side a touch too early. I could have made a lot of time up in the last couple of corners, to be honest. I think I was a bit too conservative. Of course I made the mistake going up on the curb. I think I'm a bit too conservative here as we bring this back. So we can see here that my brake is on the right hand side. I'm applying the brake before I get to this point. I could have been a touch later, and all of these are fine margins which help with your pace. But yes, I'm then going to dip this down into fifth gear, and there's like a dip, a nice dip that goes through this corner. And as you go through this dip, that's when you then want to get on throttle, nicking the inside sausage curb, and then making sure that you don't run out too wide on the exit. As such, as soon as you hit that curb, through the dip, full throttle, and to the finish line. And there we go, guys. That is the lap for you. You can see there 258 kilometers an hour as we are at the same point on the lap on the left-hand side, which is early on in the stint. And that is how much quicker and how the car progresses in speed over the course of a stint. So yes, in these fixed races in particular, the car is only going to get quicker and quicker. But you need to be wary of those tyres spinning up, not sliding through corners, because if you do, the temperature is going to stay high in this car, in these tyres, and you're going to lose grip. So be careful with that throttle control. But yes, there we go. I think that went pretty well, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. If there's anything on here that you have noticed of my inputs here, please, I am willing to learn and be coached. Please let me know in the comments below. Is this something handy? Do you think you'd be interested in this VBOX Sim software? It is very much a professional software, guys. It's definitely at the higher end of the telemetry side of things. But if you want to take sim racing seriously, you want to get down into the nuts and bolts of setups and analyzing your laps, then this is definitely the software for you. So yeah, big thank you to Racelogic and VBOX for this. I'm definitely going to use this while I still have it to improve my lap times. If you want more track guides in the future, let me know in the comments below. I do enjoy putting these together, and it's good practice for me for the week ahead as well. And lastly, guys, before I end this video, I will be competing in a creator clash with some other VBOX sim racing creators who have had access to this, and yes, have been invited by Racelogic to an event where we'll be going toe-to-toe with each other for some good prizes. 15 of us in total, I think there is, could be a little bit less than that, on R Factor 2 with a variety of cars. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully it's on my birthday nonetheless, a nice little birthday treat for me. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button, turn those notifications on, and I'll see you out there on track at the Red Bull Ring. See you guys. Bye.